All right, we're going to make gumbo here. You want to start off with about 2 pounds of head-on shrimp. You want the shrimp with the heads on. You know they're gonna look like that because we're going to pull those heads off and take the shells off and make a pretty good stock out of them. So start at about 2 pounds. You're going to end up with about 1 pound of shrimp. So now I'm going to pull the heads off here and stick them in this pot, and we're going to fill it up with some water. All right, I got the shrimp heads all pulled off. You know, that was about 2 pounds. You'll probably end up with a little over a pound of shrimp bodies after that. But there's all the heads in the pot. You got that nice orange fat in there that probably comes from the shrimp brains, but that's going to give really good flavor to the stock. If you live in Kansas City, specifically Overland Park, you can get head-on shrimp at 888 Market down there at the corner of 119th and 69. It's an Asian market. They have all sorts of shrimp. This is 50-60 count shrimp. That's 50-60 to a pound, but you could use 40-50. You probably don't want to go any bigger than that, so because you want to have a nice, spoonful of shrimp when you take a bite out of your gumbo. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I got one decent sized bell pepper, a couple medium onions, got all the insides of the thing of celery, and all the leafy parts, and then several cloves of garlic. Don't be shy with that. So I'm going to cut all that stuff up and add it into the shrimp heads and cover it up with some water. All right, I got my pot filled up with water. I don't know how big of a pot this is, but there's my hand for comparison. Anyway, got that on high, so we're going to get it boiling. And then what we're going to add to that, going to add some ground black pepper, 2 or 3 bay leaves, just a little bit of this Creole seasoning. You can get this about any grocery store. It's probably not important to add it, but add a little bit if you want. Add some worcestershire sauce. And then I got an industrial-sized bag of fine ground red pepper here. You can get this from any Asian store. Got many uses, but I'll add that. And probably not more than a couple teaspoons of each of this stuff. And you probably use a little more of the Worcestershire sauce and a little more red pepper if you want. You can always add more later to taste if you think if it needs more. You don't need to add any salt because we're already going to be adding stuff that has salt in it. All right, you can see about how much stuff I've added. I probably added about 4 bay leaves. Go ahead and use the broken up ones because you're going to strain all this stuff, so you don't have to worry about eating it. And there's your red pepper, Worcestershire sauce already sunk to the bottom. There's your black pepper. I probably did about 10 grinds of that. And then some of the Creole seasoning is right there. That's probably about half tablespoon or something, maybe a couple teaspoons. All right, this stuff is about coming to a boil. You can see how all the foam is formed from the shrimp fat and protein there. And there it goes. See, it's getting ready to overflow, so it gets real foamy. So what you want to do is, stir it around, try to break some of that foam up, and once it starts, probably reduce the heat to probably medium-low. What I want to do, I'm going to throw a lid on this because I'm going to go mow the grass. So you want to. There's about the flame right there, probably a little lower. Watch it for a little bit. Make sure that you probably want to get as hot as possible without boiling over and having all that orange shrimp stuff, foam outside. You probably want to let it sit for at least an hour. It'll end up probably boiling for about 2 hours before we're about to use it. So, just watch the temperature on the thing, and if you start to lose all the liquid, just put some more water into it, and we'll be back in about an hour. All right, it's been about an hour and a half. You can see this stock's looking pretty good. A lot of the colors, been bleached out of or going out of the shrimp shells, and the vegetables are wilted. So all that good stuff is getting infused into that water. So we'll put the lid back on that. We're going to use it maybe another hour or so. We're going to go ahead and make a roux, and when we do that, we're going to need about 1 large to medium onion, bell pepper, and several stalks of celery. So first thing I'm going to do is cut all that stuff up into small pieces. All right, I took those ingredients and chopped them all up. You can see it's chopped up pretty good here. It's probably about 4 cups of stuff here total. It's the onions, the celery, and the bell pepper. So I've transferred that stock onto the back burner and let it simmer. And we're going to make a roux now. And this is different from a normal roux in that normal roux, you want to take flour, and you're going to brown it in a lot of oil. We're not going to do that. We're going to do a dry roux. I don't know if that's done, but that's the way I do it. So I got a stainless steel pan here. You want to make sure it's clean and dry. You don't want any water in there. And I got a wooden spatula. You could probably use a maybe a Teflon spatula, but it's got to handle a lot of heat, and you want to be able to get down there and scrape with the thing. 'Cause when this gets hot and that flour hits it, it's going to start browning, so you've got to be quick at it. And you want to have your ingredients that we cut up in a big bowl, because what you're going to do is once the roux starts browning, it's going to brown quickly, you're going to transfer them into there. And that's what's going to cool it off, and you're going to, cook in there a little bit and then transfer it back into here. So I got my pan dry and ready to go, and I got a half-cup scooper here of flour. I'm probably going to end up putting about 1 cup, maybe 1.5 cups in that thing. So first thing I'm going to do is let this thing warm up. Alright, I've added about 1 cup of flour. That looks about right. You don't need to be real precise on it. If you add 1.5 cups is okay. If your gumbo gets too thick, you just add more liquid down the line to thin it out with. But I didn't let the pan get hot, real hot. You don't want to do that. Just, put the flour in and turn up on high. And, it's got to be a heavy pan, but then you're going to start stirring it. And you want to have a good vent up there, because it's going to start to get smoky. So I'm just going to sit here and keep stirring this, and eventually you're going to start to see it turn brown, and that's when you really got to keep stirring. And so make sure it doesn't stick anywhere and doesn't burn. You may have to reduce the heat a little bit, but you don't want to let it burn. That's the key thing. Alright, I got my roux going right here. It's probably been about 4 minutes, and I've already turned the heat off on this. It's nice and brown now, and you gotta remember, just keep this stuff stirring. Shake your pan, don't let it stick. So it's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, that's nice and brown, is I'm going to dump those vegetables in there. You can hear it sizzling. So I want to take and put those in there and get them all coated with the roux. And that's going to cool everything off, so you don't have to worry about burning. So you're going to sit there and stir this. Since I got a heavy pan, you're going to want to stir it for several minutes, maybe about 3 minutes or so. Get it all coated and all cooled off. Alright, I stirred it for a few minutes and it's all cooled off now. And you can see that's looking pretty good. Got the vegetables covered with the brown roux, and we're going to take and transfer that back into the original bowl that you had. We're going to use the pan now to fry up some chicken. Alright, got that roux in the bowl there. We're just going to push that back there and set it aside. So I got 4 of the boneless, skinless chicken thighs here. That's a little over a pound. It's about 1.25 pounds. It doesn't matter. I like the chicken thighs versus the chicken breast, because you get a little bit more flavor in the meat, especially when it's going to be in a gumbo with a dark roux. And it's also a little more stringy. I kind of like the texture, as opposed to chicken breast. And when it's been stewing in the gumbo, it gets a little stringy and it's a little nicer. But you want to leave things whole. But what we're going to do is trim all that fat off there. Alright, got all the a lot of the fat trimmed off the chicken. There's not a lot, but that's much you're not going to be eating, so try to get as much off as you can. So what we're going to do with that chicken now, again, it's whole. We're going to take about 1/2 cup of flour and stick it in I'll use these 1-gallon Ziploc bags, but you can use an old plastic grocery bag, but they tend to leak. So we're going to take about 1/2 cup of flour and use generous amounts of garlic powder. You got it right there, granulated garlic powder. Black pepper and the red pepper used before, so use a lot of it because you want to get it kind of spicy, because you're not going to be eating it whole. It's going to be mixed into the gumbo. Okay, I got all that in the bag. Again, that's about a 1/2 cup of flour, and there's probably about 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of red pepper, and there's about 20 twists of the pepper grinder in there. So we're going to take all that chicken now and put it in there, mix that all together, then coat the chicken in it. Alright, I got a piece of chicken in there after that was mixed up. Shaking around there, give it a good squeeze to really get that flour and spices ground into there. Alright, chicken's all nice and looking good now, coated with the flour and spices. So we're going to take the pan that we had before and put in a generous amount of olive oil. We're going to fry that chicken up in some olive oil, so go ahead and heat your pan up and add the olive oil and get it so it's hot, and we're going to put the chicken in. Alright, that oil is probably nice and hot now. It's been a couple minutes. You see the viscosity has gone down. It's kind of shimmering, so there's probably about 1/2 cup in there. So we're going to take this chicken and lay it on in there. You can see it's starting to sizzle. You don't need a lot of oil because you're just gonna pan fry it. So as you add the chicken, oil kind of comes up to cover the sides. You want to get it up to the edge at least. There we go. Get that chicken there. We're just going to let it fry for a few minutes on one side, and we'll turn it over and let it fry up on the other side. All right, this is about how brown you want it on one side, so it's looking pretty good. So we're going to flip the rest of them. All right, this chicken's looking pretty good. It's you can see it's nice and brown and crispy now. Got a nice hard shell on, so we're going to take that chicken out and put it on this paper towel lined plate to drain and cool. All right, here's the finished chicken. It's got a nice crust on it, so just set it aside, let it cool. It's tempting not to eat it. It's really good, so you can slice off and nibble a piece while you're cooking the rest of the stuff. All right, so what we got here? Oh yeah, the oil over here. Just let that cool. You're gonna end up throwing it away, so just discard it when it's cool. I've got about 4 links of andouille sausage here and more generous cloves of garlic. This stuff, if you live in Kansas City, you can get it at Fritz's Meat Market, or Fritz's Smokehouse. It's down there at I-435 and State Line. But this is about a pound. It's nice and kind of dry and got a good firm texture to it. So we're going to slice that up, probably about 1/8 inch thickness pieces, and then crush the garlic up. You want the garlic kind of fine because we're going to mix that into the gumbo. All right, sausage and garlic are all cut up. Well, no, I probably used about a whole bulb of garlic in this gumbo, but I like a lot of garlic. Use about half of it in the stock, and the other half we're going to add fresh into the gumbo. Yeah, sausage is cut about 1/8 inch slices. It's got a nice fat marbling in there. You get thin enough when the gumbo cooks over an hour, all that's going to melt out and give a really nice flavor. All right, ready to start making this now. So I got another pot out. And the colander. So what I want to do is take and drain that stock. Stock's looking real good right there. About done. Take and drain that into the colander, into the pot, so we can separate all the shells and everything. We're going to end up just throwing those shells away. All right, we've drained that out, so we've got the shells and vegetables left over, and just stick it back in the original thing to let it drain a little bit more. Any of those drippings that come out, you can add back into the stock. But that's looking really good. It's got a nice dark orangish color from all of the shrimp shells and everything. This is going to make really good stock. Alright, I got the stock here, so I'm going to keep handy a quart of this, or a box of this chicken stock. Probably not going to need it, but as the gumbo cooks over the next hour, if you think it's getting a little thick, let's say you add a half cup too much flour in your roux, you can just always add that to thin it out a little bit. So we're going to get this, bring it to a boil. Get it heated up, and we're going to boil, and then we're going to start adding the roux in. And you can go ahead and add the garlic in too right now. So I've gone ahead and added that garlic in, and I can see it floating in there. So I'm going to let it come to a boil, and we'll start stirring that roux mixture in. All right, this stock's boiling now. If you go back and look at one of these shrimp heads, you can see all the stuff, the brains and stuff that used to be on the inside. They're all boiled out, and they're in that stock, so it's going to taste really good. So what we'll do is start spooning this roux in and stirring it around. And you want to do it spoonfuls at a time while you're stirring, so you don't get any of that flour clumping together in there. You want it all dissolved into the stock. All right, now I've added in all the roux, and you can see how that dark roux changed the color. It's nice dark brown now. So that's starting to boil again. So we're going to go ahead and add all the sausage into there. Alright, it's been a couple minutes and that gumbo's come to a boil now. We got the sausage and garlic in, so we're going to turn it down to, I don't know, medium-low, about right there. And we're going to let this cook for 1 hour overall at this point. At the half-hour mark, you're going to want to take and cut your chicken up and add that in there. And then at the 45-minute mark, we'll add the shrimp in, which is in the refrigerator. At the half-hour mark, you probably want to taste it. And yeah, check to see if it needs a little more red pepper in it, or salt. Probably don't need to add any salt because there's already plenty of that in the sausage, probably even in the chicken. So we're going to let this simmer, and we're going to stir it once in a while. You don't need to put the lid on it because it'll start to thicken up over the next hour. So it's going to let it simmer, and then come back and stir it once in a while, and add the chicken in about a half hour. All right, gumbo's only been cooking for about 5 minutes, but I forgot to say that you're going to want to eat this with some rice. So my favorite rice is this. It's called sweet brown rice. You can get it at any, usually any Asian grocery store, particularly one that caters to Koreans. I find this pretty popular in Korea. It is not sweet. They just call it that. in a close up here, you can see, you know, it's got definitely not white rice, but I got about a cup and a half right here. That's plenty for 2 to 4 people who have leftovers. I got a little rice cooker right here, but you can do it on the stove. You want about 1.5 cups of the sweet brown rice to 2.5 cups of water, and you can rinse the rice too. If you're only doing 1 cup of rice, you add 1 3/4 cups of water. It'll take about a half hour to cook in the rice cooker. But yeah, after the rice cooker shuts off, you're going to want to let it sit for another half hour to soften up some. If you took it right out of there, it'd be a little too hard, but about 1 hour is the perfect time to cook this. If you did it on the stove, you cook it until the water started to all go out of it, and just turn off and let it sit for a half hour. All right, I got that in the rice cooker. I add the water. I did rinse it. You really don't have to do it for this brown rice. It doesn't have a lot of starch on it, unlike basmati rice. You got to rinse the stuff 10 times, and you got to soak it and keep coming out. Let's put this stuff in there and plug it in, and turn her on. Let her cook. All right, it's been about 1/2 hour, and this stuff's looking pretty good. So take a look at that. You can see how the sausage is kind of curled up. So all that fat inside and everything, and spices are melting out of there and getting in the gumbo. So now at the half-hour point, I'm going to take that chicken and cut it up and add it into there. All right, chicken's all cut up. I cut them lengthwise and then cut them into small bite-sized pieces. That should work nicely in there. So now we're going to take and add that into the gumbo. And we're going to want to let it come back to a boil after you add it, and then reduce it and let it simmer again. All right, this is back to a boil, so I reduced it. We're going to let it simmer. Now's a good time to taste it. See how it turns out. It's got a nice color to it. I already tasted it. I think it's just fine. I don't think it needs any more spices in it. So let it cook for another 15 minutes. So at the 45-minute mark, we're going to add the shrimp. All right, it's been another 15 minutes. We're at the 45-minute mark. So I'm going to go and take and add that shrimp that we peeled earlier. Just dump it on in there and stir it about. And you probably want to bring it back to a boil again. Maybe not too much because we don't want to overcook the shrimp. Probably want to let it sit in there for another 15 minutes. So I'll just bring it up to a low boil and bring it back down again. All right, I got about 5 minutes to go on this stuff. It's looking really good. Going to add some filet in here. I'm not going to add a ton, just I don't know, maybe a few teaspoons, and then let that cook for a few minutes in there, and then you can have it at the table, and you can add it afterwards to your liking. This isn't filet gumbo, which is going to have a ton of filet in it. It's just normal gumbo. All right, the 1 hour is up, and this stuff's ready to eat, man. It's looking really good. So I'm going to take and go over here and peel a little bit of rice out of the rice cooker, and you can see it's nice and soft now. It's been there about an hour, too. It's just been sitting for about a half hour. So put some rice down that bowl, and come over here. You want maybe 1 dollop of rice for about 1 scoop of gumbo. So get a good scoop there. Try to get a little bit of everything, and then get it on in there. Maybe scoop up a little bit of liquid. Throw that in there too. So that's looking really good. All right, it's taken about 3 hours to make this. So I got the gumbo right here. I got a cold Pilsner Urquell in my Star Trek Mr. Spot glass, so I'm going to put a little filet powder on that. It's looking really good. Look at that. Man, that took 3 hours. It was well worth it. It don't get any better than this, I guarantee. See you later.